Okay, virtually every week, JBL sells the Shield as the most dominant faction in professional wrestling history. History. I know they're doing that because they've had probably one of the best years as a combined unit out of almost any major group, especially when it comes to groups that have been in the E. However, I think if you were to look a little back, slightly farther in history, you'll probably find a group that was a lot more dominant when it was initially a smaller set of people. I'm, of course, talking about Hogan, Hall, and Nash, the original NWO. Before it became like Scott Norton, Horace Hogan, Virgil. Before it became, we'll play the NWO music. It takes 8 minutes for our guys to get to the ring, 4 minutes from all they get into the ring, and they got to position themselves. So I'm talking just classic NWO. Hogan, Hall, and Nash versus Rollins, Reigns, and Ambrose. Now I do this on an 11-point system. This is a huge system. So I got strength, speed, endurance, toughness, striking. How impactful are your strikes? How varied are your strikes? Grappling. This is your. I think it's more kind of like this is your slams. This is your suplexes. These are all of your other actual physical moves. You're actually going to hold on to your opponent and use their momentum and do actual moves off that. Submissions. This is going to be, how well are you when it comes to, ironically for these groups, this is going to be like your headlocks, this is your leg locks, this is like your different sorts of actual, mat style wrestling. High flying, over with the crowd. When your music hits, what does the crowd do? This is just flat reaction. Ring psychology and mic work. We'll get right into this. Strength. That is NWO. You have got 3 gigantic dudes. While I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure Roman Reigns is easily he's the same strength as Hall. He's not there with Nash. And Hogan at this time wasn't as strong as he used to be. So I'd probably say Reigns is stronger than 2 members of the NWO, but there's no way he can match what Nash was doing at that time. Speed. This is entirely the Shield. The Shield is a bunch of young guys. They've got some speed to them. The NWO, when it was Hogan, Hall, and Nash, was just straight up heavy hitters. It was big, strong guys. Endurance. I'm asking this one to the Shield. The Shield is a bunch of younger guys. Around this time, the majority of the NWO members are really close to 40. You're looking at guys who are late 30s, getting close to 40s. All of them have had some sort of surgical work. So, they're still good in the ring, but there's no way those 3 guys are going to put on, like a 30-minute long match. It's not going to happen. They're going to gas out quick. Toughness. This one, I'll be honest, I'm actually going to give this one to the NWO. Why am I going to give this one to the NWO? It's actually quite simple. These guys wrestled a tremendous amount of matches. These guys took tremendous beatings. Wrestlers of that era are just an entirely different breed. The styles of bumps, the styles of matches, your body took a much greater physical toll. So, the NWO could definitely take a better beating. They're going to take it for as long as the Shield. They could definitely take a beating. Striking. This one could be kind of a debatable one, because with the NWO, you've got your punches, your big boots, you've got your knees, you've got your elbows. So you've got your pretty basic style, but they're all really impactful. I'm not going to compare that against the style of the Shield, where you've got different styles of punches, different styles of kicks. The Superman punch. Seth Rollins alone has a dozen different sorts of striking maneuvers that he has. We'll also look at the spear too, which is a tremendous finisher. So ironically, striking, I'm going to give a slight edge to the Shield. Grappling. The weird thing is with the Shield is they really don't do a lot of suplexes or back body drops or body slams. They rarely ever use any of those moves. It is a striking, it is a ground game with the occasional high flying move. So this is one of the very few times when grappling is going to go to the NWO. Here you had your full assortment of body slams, of suplexes, fallaway slams, one-man jackknife powerbomb. So, there was a lot more variety in those moves. Okay, now we're into submissions. This one's, again, kind of a weird one because I really don't remember the NWO doing that much in the way of submissions work. The Shield, very, very little, but the Shield still does a little bit more in submissions work. They're still doing a little bit more of grounding an opponent, a little more in the way of headlocks, of arm locks. They're doing a little bit more than what you saw from NWO. But again, you had a bunch of big guys. You know what you don't want to see? You don't want to see Kevin Nash putting someone else in a headlock. This is Rey Mysterio and he's swinging them around. But beyond that, just their body sizes did not work well for doing lots of grappling work. High flying. This is entirely the Shield. I don't recall Scott Hall doing a moonsault or doing a top rope plancha. Yes, you're probably saying, but from the Shield, this is all Rollins. A little bit of Ambrose. Yes. But the high flying aspect, there's nobody on the NWO who did any sort of high flying. So right now we're at 5-3 before we go into the psychological aspect of professional wrestling. Over with the crowd. I'm sorry, when NWO first started, they were what made wrestling cool. If you're a wrestling fan in the 90s, guess what? The NWO made wrestling cool. Most people had an NWO t-shirt. Hogan as a heel made wrestling cool. They were ridiculously booed, then they got ridiculously cheered. Ring psychology. You've got 3 guys who are at that time were probably 3 of the best in the industry. Best active wrestlers. And they knew how to draw you into a match. The storyline was strong enough, the group was strong enough, they brought you in. While the Shield's done a tremendous job with that, they show the physical wear and tear. They do a great match when it comes to their physical movement. The one they did with CM Punk at 3-on-1 match told a beautiful story. But the story they told in the ring didn't have that much on the outside of the ring to actually help buffer it and make it stronger. With the NWO, they had so much going on the outside of the ring that when they did their matches, you were already drawn in. So you had a better storyline and decent in-ring work when it came to psychological aspect. Where the Shield has really great in-ring work, but they're really not building anything else outside of its storyline-wise. And finally, mic work. The Shield is getting there. Before it was all Ambrose. And Ambrose does a phenomenal job when it comes to the mic. He was on the headset on Friday Night SmackDown for Rollins and Reigns versus the Usos. And my wife was like, "Oh, well, he never shut up." And I was like, "But you know what? It's good. He's doing a great job. He knows his character. He does a really fantastic delivery. Very unique style." Reigns is getting there. Rollins is getting there. When he was Tyler Black in Ring of Honor, dude could talk up a storm. But in the E, a little bit different character, a little bit different way of talking. Remember initially when Reigns was just believe in the Shield? I used to say the Shield used to be Ambrose, paragraph, Rollins, sentences, Reigns, catchphrase. They've gotten a lot better, but they are nowhere near the level of the mic work that you had from the NWO. Hogan, Hall, and Nash knew how to work the mic. Did they occasionally have grammar errors? Yes. I think it was, look at the noun, play. The verb. So that gives the edge 6-5 for the NWO. Ironically, out of these two groups, I'm going to look at WCW era NWO. If I had to compare when the NWO came to WWE, yeah, then this is an entirely different scenario. But going with them at their classic, they're like post-Bash at the Beach, when they were really getting things going. There's 3 of them just running the whole show. They did a fantastic job. The Shield, when they were brought in, did a great job. However, initially for their starter run, when they were just dominant, they did a good job when it came to speaking, and they were probably easily the most entertaining part of the show. If you look at where they are now, a little bit later, they've had more in-ring success, they've had more gold, but they just didn't have the overall capabilities when it comes to keeping a storyline going for a tremendous amount of time as the NWO did.